You know, when you hear the words government secrets, your mind probably jumps straight to UFOs, aliens, maybe some kind of forbidden technology, right? But what if the real story is, well, less sci-fi and more about cold, hard military advantage? In this explainer, we're going to pull back that curtain and really separate the myth from the reality of government secrecy.
All right, let's just start with this bombshell of a fact, because it sounds like it's straight out of a movie. The United States government absolutely 100% ran a secret program to investigate UFOs. And I want to be super clear, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is documented. It's real.
And that program? Well, it had a pretty official, if kind of boring name, AATIP. And it's this real-life program that becomes the kernel of truth at the center of so many of these modern myths about government cover-ups. So ATIP, that stands for the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. And yeah, it was a very real $22 million project run by the Defense Intelligence Agency. For 5 whole years, its official mission was to study UFOs, or, as they like to call them now, unidentified aerial phenomena. Basically, their job was to look into stuff our military pilots were seeing in the sky that nobody could explain.
So you might be wondering, where did that $22 million actually go? Well, ATIP funded 38 different theoretical research papers on some pretty out-there subjects. I mean, we are talking about warp drives, traversable wormholes, invisibility cloaking, even anti-gravity. It is no wonder this program just lit a fire under all the speculation. You had a government agency literally paying scientists to research ideas from Star Trek. And you can see how this real government interest in super exotic physics becomes the perfect launchpad for a much bigger, much more persistent myth, the whole idea of forbidden tech, and especially the promise of free, unlimited energy that's supposedly being hidden from all of us. At the very heart of a lot of these free energy claims is this concept of a perpetual motion machine. It's a device that could, in theory, run forever without any fuel. Now, there's just one tiny problem. It completely violates one of the most basic rules of the universe, the law of conservation of energy. You just can't get more energy out of a system than you put into it, period. But hey, the laws of physics, they didn't seem to stop inventors like Joseph Newman. He built this thing he called the energy machine and made this incredibly bold promise. And he became this folk hero almost overnight. The self-taught genius fighting the system to give free energy to the world. So Newman's big claim was that his machine worked by turning the mass of its copper coils directly into energy, which meant it produced way more power than it used. But when he actually sued the patent office to get a patent, a judge ordered the machine to be tested. The National Bureau of Standards, we're talking the top measurement lab in the country, they took a look, and the verdict was crystal clear. It didn't work. The output was always less than the input. The laws of physics, well, they remained undefeated. And this right here brings us to the main idea of this entire explainer. It really seems like there are 2 totally different kinds of secrets out there. You've got the myth of forbidden free energy tech on one side, and then you have the much more real, much more tangible world of classified science on the other. So if the government isn't hiding perpetual motion machines, what is it hiding? What are the secrets that are so important, so vital that they're willing to classify them and keep them locked away from the public?
Okay, so here's the crucial difference, laid out nice and clear. On one hand, you have legitimate classified science. This stuff is governed by actual federal law. And the reason for the secrecy, it's not to protect some big company's profits. It's to protect national security, to maintain a military advantage. And it's all based on real verifiable physics. On the other hand, you have forbidden tech. That's based on conjecture, it usually breaks the laws of physics, and its biggest supporters almost never agree to independent testing. One is about strategy, the other is about speculation.
Okay, so let's get out of the theory and look at how this all plays out in the real world. We're not talking about myths anymore. We're talking about real, classified technology that has literally shaped history.
And this isn't some vague concept. It is written down in black and white, codified in law. This is the Invention Secrecy Act of 1951. This is the official, legal tool that gives the U.S. government the power to see an invention from a private citizen and basically say, nope, that's ours now, and lock it away in the name of national security.
The logic behind it is actually pretty straightforward. If an inventor comes up with something new, say a new type of radar, a breakthrough in encryption, some crazy new material, that could give an adversary a military edge, the government can step in and declare it a state secret. The patent gets withheld, and that idea is now classified.
And what's the most famous place where this all happens? Area 51, of course. The reason that base was so secret wasn't because of crashed alien ships. It was the testing ground for America's most cutting-edge, most secret military aircraft, the U-2 spy plane, the A-12 that could fly at over Mach 3, and of course the F-117 stealth fighter. All of them were born there in total secrecy. They even took apart captured Soviet MiGs to figure out their weaknesses. Every secret, every project, had one single purpose: maintaining a military advantage.
And don't think for a second that this is all just old Cold War history. This practice of classifying technology for a military edge is happening right now, maybe more than ever, and it's all being driven by a new era of intense global competition.
As of the end of the last fiscal year, this was the number of patent secrecy orders currently in effect: 6,543. That's how many private inventions are right now considered too sensitive for national security to be made public.
And just look at this trend. After years of the numbers being pretty stable, the amount of new secrecy orders slapped on inventions in fiscal year 2024 just skyrocketed to 356. To put that in perspective for you, that is more than the previous 2 years put together. This isn't some gradual increase, folks. This is a sudden, urgent reaction to a rapidly changing world.
And there's really no mystery about who's driving this push. The main agencies imposing these orders are the branches of the military: the Navy, the Air Force, the Army, and the Defense Technology Security Administration. This is all about controlling technology that has a direct use on the battlefield.
So, why the huge spike all of a sudden? Well, it's a direct reaction to an intensifying global race for technological dominance. Specifically, it's a countermove to adversarial strategies like China's military civil fusion policy, which is basically designed to grab foreign technology as fast as possible and funnel it into their military. That has forced the US to get way more aggressive about protecting its own innovations just to keep that military edge.
So this all leaves us with a pretty critical question. The real secrets the government protects aren't about hiding free energy. They're about securing a military advantage. But as the pace of innovation and global competition just keeps accelerating, you really have to wonder what breakthroughs in fields like AI, quantum computing, or biotech are being developed right now that are being deemed too powerful and maybe too dangerous for any of us to know about.